Hey, how's it going guys? ZDEyE here. So today I wanted to share my review on crime boss Rockay City. Now this game actually came out a few months ago already, and there has been some updates and fixes going on for this game, because obviously, if you guys have not heard, this game came out in quite a poor reception. But nevertheless, I got an opportunity to review this game because I've been provided with a code from 505 Games. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity, and I wanted to do this game a little bit of a justice, but it's important for me to clarify that this review will be my honest thoughts. So yes, if there are some negatives, I will mention them, but of course I cannot deny that there are indeed some positives. And of course, let's begin. So obviously nobody knew what type of game this game would have been when it was introduced about like last year at the Game Awards, and 1990s setting gave an impression that someone tried to mimic the ambience of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, but with a cast of more known characters de-aged to their prime. There were reviews of first-person shooter and a cut sequences done with what appeared to be an in-game graphics, but nothing else. When the game was released on PC, the reception, well, it was mixed, but work continued towards the console release on both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 for a few months later. Now you play as Travis Baker, a drug dealer who has relocated to Rockay City in quest of the prosperity. As the ruler of the underworld dies in a spectacular explosion during his party, a power vacuum arises and Baker is eager to fill it. He'll need a team and a way to fight the city's numerous gangs until he's the only one left standing. It's a conventional criminal tale game that doesn't do anything to distinguish itself from the Grand Theft Auto and its competitors. Now that's great, because most of the games don't require large, vast, epic plots to propel them along. Now the sequences which wander off into dramatically various paths and have vastly distinct tones don't assist the other simple idea. Some sequences attempt to be quite serious, some are quite funny, and yet others appear to be parodies of other crime-related games and films. Some of the scenes barely hold together in terms of the connectedness, while others are non-sequiturs. There has been a lot of emphasis on having a lot of big actors, but given the caliber of the lines they're given and how everything fails to flow together logically, well, it feels like kind of money wasted. Crime Boss Rockay City has 3 modes, right, with the campaign mode gaining the most attention and divided into several diverse gameplay styles. You begin with the map that reveals which mission you may participate in depending on where you are in the tale, and those missions are classified into many sorts. The breadth and the intricacy of heists can, of course, vary. Some of them are quite straightforward, such as going to the drills to smash through safes and zip-tying people and guards like in Payday. You can proceed in stealth or shoot anything, but these missions have a tight time frame that counts down once you accomplish anything. As the time runs out and the cops arrive, you have a start system that raises the more you battle until the cops send in military-grade weaponry to take you down. Somewhat actually similar we have seen from Payday and maybe even Grand Theft Auto. Whichever technique you use, the goal is to gather as much as you can and flee in a getaway vehicle. Now the other mission types you'll be involved in is in a territorial takeover or defense. In both circumstances, the game plays like a regular, Battlefield, maybe Dynasty Warriors match, with the opposing troops being chipped down with each kill. When you reach a specific threshold, the area boss appears. Everyone also runs once they've gone down, indicating a successful takeover. Unlike heists, these missions aren't timed, although the places are tiny enough that missions of this sort take only about a few minutes. You'll also have tasks that take place outside of Rockay City and is the past due to the nature of the tale. One of them will witness an infiltration of the Arctic facility. Another time you'll be back in Vietnam with your own unit. They are unusual additions. They make sense given what's in some of the sequences. All of this is governed by economy in which successful heist and takeover territory generate income, either directly or through the sale of products. The money is essential for improving your team, whether it's with more members, weaponry, or just keeping the company operating. When it comes to mission completion, you have the option to leaving with the bare minimum to ensure some success, or becoming greedy and clean out the premises to the maximum pay. When you fail the task, the game switches to another branch. With you losing money or gaining nothing, can hope that another mission or passive cash stream would allow you to continue battling. It's an intriguing mechanic, since it disturbs the normal pattern or needing to complete the perfect task in order to continue. Crime boss Rockay City also employs certain roguelike aspects with quite of a mixed results. Missions contain objective, location and changes with each run. Tasks are also randomized daily, thus replaying the campaign will never result in you traveling in the same path twice. If Baker dies outside of the campaign's first level, you must restart the game from the beginning. If any of the random characters die, you will lose their bonuses. Again, the execution isn't exactly perfect, but it tries its best to spice up the gameplay a little bit. Such aspects are insufficient to counteract everything else that detracts from the pleasure of the scenarios. There's also an option to take on missions with the stealth components, however almost everything you do breaks that concept. When you try to take down the adversary from behind, there's nearly always someone watching. If you are noticed by one person, everyone in the neighborhood will know where exactly you are. When you go in with your weapons blazing, the firefights are never satisfactory, unfortunately. And adversaries come from all sides. Sometimes your character dies because you were unaware of the wave of foes approaching from behind. When it comes to looting, your AI colleagues are great, but you basically have to supervise them because they seldom touch the stuff until you direct them to, or loot for them and hand them the sack. Probably the most serious fault is that every task feels nearly identical, and although you're relieved that the missions are brief, it also gets quite tiresome rather than thrilling. Crime Boss Rockay City features two more modes that are quite similar, and while they're intended for the multiplayer, you may also play them solo because bots can accompany you. In Crime Time, you go after the solitary heists, however in Urban Legends, you go for a few heists that are linked together like a mini campaign. The good news is that the online performance is indeed good, while the existence of the bots helps to compensate for the limited user population. And it seemed like there were not much issues in terms of the connectivity and having the latency issues. And it seems like the connectivity and the latency was not really an issue. The bad news is that almost every heist is a task you previously completed in the campaign. So anyone looking for new material in these modes, well, they'll unfortunately be quite disappointed. The game's graphics may be pretty amazing, the sequences featuring a large number of the de-aged actors, yet their rendering, lip syncing and overall animation are also pretty outstanding. The environments seem good as well, especially in locations where they're in some light bloom. Things fall down during the gunfight though, and you discover practically all of your foes are effectively clones. And although this is expected with cops, it also occurs to other gang members. So it feels like every adversary has been cloned and mass manufactured. While playing this game on my PlayStation 5, I had no issues in terms of the performance and the quality. Okay, so let's get into... The writing is unfortunately quite bad, but only half of the cast appears to try to make it work. Michael Rooker, Michael Madsen and Damien Poitier are among the more experienced performers with the voice work expertise. Vanilla Ice is Advocate, as are Kim Basinger and Danny Glover. Chuck Norris is terrible because he never appeared to be given his words with much passion or paying attention to how the sentences should be said in the regular discussion. The biggest offender are the supporting cast members, who overreact and utilize awful accents while still attempting to make the storyline work. The sound effects are a little bit inconsistent, ranging from the muffled gunfight to a drill that sounds like it was silenced attached. Now I did hear this actually was improved, but there are still issues remain. But they're not as bad, I personally think. Just needed to mention them though. The music is one bright spot in the sound area, with a terrific collection of huge songs from the 90s that play during the cutscenes, which do a great job of creating an atmosphere even if everything else falters. Crime Boss Rockay City Dragon's Gold Cup also includes some of the additions that recently came out as a DLC, such as Dragon's Gold Cup Heist, Invade a Heavily Protected Depot, and Steal the King's Gold. This is playable in 3 different ways, each of them include a unique recon mission. A new plotline, a dive into the brand new plotline focusing on a dollar dragon in a single-player campaign, including a series of smaller missions which lead up to the bigger heist. If you master the plotline like Crime Boss, Dollar Dragon will join you in your gang. I should actually mention that Dollar Dragon is actually played by Danny Trejo. Crime Time Contract, get your team together and take on the Gold Cup heist in the Crime Time mode. A Blue Dragon character skin, Robin style in Crime Time with exclusive Blue Dragon character skin, and lastly 2 new Urban Legends chains. Experience 2 new chains with your friends or solo, which lead up to the Gold Cup heist. I just wanted to mention that this DLC popped up just a few days ago. I have experienced it, it was pretty good, but of course, due to the fault of the main game, there are consistent problems that are still here. Now, nevertheless, this is a far better experience than it was on day one. So, Crime Boss Rockay City isn't like a total disaster. Like, the notion of the combining management tasks with the action-oriented shooting works good on a paper since the gameplay types complement one another. Nevertheless, neither feature plays out particularly effectively, and when combining with a weak tale and less than mediocre acting, the experience doesn't improve as you progress through it. There's no incentive to play this game unless you're desperate for a crime-based game, or perhaps maybe an alternative to Payday or something similar to it. Well, that's all I wanted to mention about Crime Boss Rockay City. Do let me know what you think about this game if you have tried it, or perhaps maybe you will give it a shot now and try to play it. At that, like and subscribe, see you guys all later, and have a wonderful day.